second stage of activating your deep core, learning how to activate your deep core, is learning how to activate your pelvic floor, because it is the bottom of our core. And postpartum, when we say we're going to do a core activation, it's from the bottom up, almost like a zip up. So it's a close and a lift of the pelvic floor before we draw in the abdominals. So this is the close and the lift of the pelvic floor portion. As you can see, the pelvic floor muscles are circular and then almost like a hammock on the inside. So we need to close the opening. We think about drinking a smoothie up out of our vagina. We think about a flower closing. We think about curtains closing. Those are all visuals that I like to use for people. Go to the self-assessment portion. If you're not sure if you are closing, as you're doing it right now, listening to me, go to the self-assessment portion to learn how to test if you're closing and lifting, because about 40% of women think they are closing and lifting, but they're actually bearing down or pushing down like they're having a bowel movement. And that gets, that coordination gets mixed up postpartum. So very common, but we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, because the pelvic floor is the base of our core. So here's what we're thinking about. We used our breath earlier to expand, and now we're going to use our breath to contract. We're only using our breath to initiate these movements. Eventually, we will hold the muscle and still breathe like I'm talking right now, and I'm holding my pelvic floor. So you can go into standing like I am. You can go into that child's pose that maybe you had a good expansion. You can go into a bent over position. So we'll do this, or the all fours position. I love all fours to learning about your coordination of your pelvic floor and core. So we're going to inhale, expand. Exhale through pursed lips. And as I exhale, I'm thinking about closing and lifting my pelvic floor. Let's go again. Inhale, expand. Exhale. Okay, hold and lift. Then can you hold it and count to 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Then you know that you can hold your pelvic floor and breathe at the same time. Let's just do a few more of inhale, expansion, exhale, contract. Okay, so this is not meant to be a 100% contraction. This is meant to teach our body to reflexively lift and support with exhale. That's why I'll cue you to blow before you go, or exhale with effort before every exercise as you're getting started. So before you come out of a lunge, I'm contracting. Before you come out of a squat, as I press overhead, same thing, we're contracting up and in, exhaling before that tough part of the movement. That's because the pelvic floor has to counteract any pressure down. That's how we stay continent. That's how we prevent or treat prolapse and even pelvic pain. So this is why it's so important to blow before you go. Eventually, you won't have to think about it. Your body will just do it reflexively, and that is the goal, okay? If you're not able to get enough power behind that pelvic floor activation, you can sometimes squeeze together. So squeeze your thighs as you lift, and you can get a little bit more power if that's an issue in your self-assessment. And you can do this with multiple exercises. The other issue is if sometimes people are squeezing so much that it maybe causes incontinence, do about 25% to 50%. I don't know your pelvic floor function because I have not physically assessed you. I do know that everyone does need a little pelvic floor activation, but I don't know how much you need. And you're going to need more for, say, a heavy deadlift than you are for like reaching back in your car to grab something. But each one of those, your pelvic floor will fire in a different way. So know that we're just retraining that activation to become automatic. The other thing is how posture affects it. So if I'm hanging out back here, I'm going to feel my pelvic floor more around my rectum, and my diaphragm isn't really helping my pelvic floor here. So as I inhale, the pressure is going out here instead of sending it down into my pelvic floor. So stacking those ribs down over your pelvis is going to help get a good pelvic floor activation. Also, if you look at my feet, if I shift my weight so that it's right over top the midfoot or my toes, then I'm going to get more pelvic floor activation above my pubic bone. That's why we use this strong athletic stance in all of the exercises in this program to retrain our pelvic floor. Okay, so if you find yourself falling back on your heels, getting fatigued and ribs going up, just kind of reevaluate that posture, and that may be helping your pelvic floor function. You can start doing this again directly after birth, and we will utilize this exhale with effort before every core connection movement in every module.